my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another indie book review. This is another installment in what I am calling the Gay Nerds Are Depressed series. So, today I am reviewing Blood of the Pack by Cassie Alexander. And the reason that I am calling this another installment in my Gay Nerds Are Depressed series is this is one of many review books I have gotten on my list that is speculative, queer, and really dark. That is a running theme of my review list for a while now, and I do not understand why this is suddenly a trend, but this one is a dark, paranormal, urban fantasy erotica all about these two people working at a 24/7 tattoo shop. You have Angela, who is a single mother with a dark past that she's running from, obviously. And then you have Jack, the sensuous bad boy that works the night shift at this 24/7 place. And they've kind of had a fancy for each other for the longest time. But before I get too much into it, quick word to the wise. Like I said before, this is a very dark book. We have on-page mentions of SA. The act is not in the plot on page, but Angela talks about it very bluntly, so be prepared for that. And then, of course, you have your good old-fashioned gore. Angela was on the run from a werewolf pack / biker gang whose leader she used to be with and who just figured out that he has a son and she didn't want him to know that. And they are not a romanticized biker gang at all. This is not your romance that's low-key trying to make them slightly more sanitized for a modern sensibility. This is a biker gang, and it really added a nice level of threat. And so a lot of her storyline focuses on trying to avoid it, trying to keep her son Rabbit from figuring out the truth. They both take colloidal silver to keep the wolves in check. And she also has a boyfriend, and it is not Jack. And I thought that was a really intriguing twist on certain romance tropes, because a lot of times in a romance book, if one of the protagonists has any kind of significant other, that significant other will be an immediately and obviously horrible person, which of course then speaks volumes to why is this person with them. And I don't mean like abusive relationships like obviously abusive relationships are difficult to leave, but I mean like when the girlfriend is this spoiled socialite that's always whining, or the guy is a douchebag that cheats all the time, whatever. Mark isn't any of those things. He's actually really sweet and protective of her, and they have actual chemistry, and you see sex scenes between the two of them, a lot of sex scenes in a variety of places, and I genuinely don't know how that's gonna go. And I kind of love that, because I've read a lot of romance books and you get to the, oh, okay, so that's the boyfriend's a douchebag, so we're gonna break up by the end of the first act, and like you can kind of tell, but I literally have no idea where they're gonna go with Angela and Mark, and that's very refreshing to me. Jack, on the other hand, is a vampire. But this is also really amusing to me, and again is a twist on urban fantasy tropes, because Angela and Jack do not know the truth about each other. Jack does not know that Angela is a werewolf. She does not know that Jack is a vampire. And I love that, because in so many urban fantasies, it's always the case of like this hidden world of supernatural beings is like this closed network and everybody knows everything. And to have a book where the supernatural beings like don't actually know that much about each other. Like at one point, Jack is fighting another werewolf, and like they keep trying to like hit each other, and they're getting annoyed that like the other person won't go down because they're assuming that the other is human, and they're like, "What are you?" Like that was just this nice like subtle kind of comedy throughout the entire book, which is about the only comedy the book has. Like I said, it's dark, but Jack is that bad boy sleeping around persona. However, and I really liked this part, it is framed through such a lens that he does not appear as a douchebag or a, jackass. Because of this, the scenes themselves, it is so obvious that while he is not monogamously attached or really attached in any kind of relationship to these people, he still cares about their pleasure. He still wants them to be consenting. He does have some of that vampire whammy magic, or he calls it whammy, where he can compel people, but he does not use it in reference to sex. He also talked about how he doesn't really need to because he knows he's hot and covered in tattoos and awesome awesome bad boy aesthetic. But he is bisexual, and you see a variety of partners with him. I believe Angela is bisexual as well. At one point she has a hot French lady hitting on her, which I love. But Jack definitely talks about how he has the hots for Angela, and at one point he even thinks himself how he wishes it was her that he could be sleeping with. But he's also aware that Mark is probably a better fit for her. So if you're going into this expecting, of course, these two are just going to get together and start the romance right away, you're going to be disappointed. Jack's storyline is really hard to talk about because it is based on an early plot twist that he is investigating the reasons behind. So a lot of that is him looking into the werewolf biker gang that Angela was once attached to without knowing she was once attached to it. And again, just that level of, I can't wait till they figure it out, is very nice and adds a lot of tension to the book. The only real issue that I had with it was its length. Now, the previous work I read by Cassie Alexander, which was the Prince of the Other Realms series that she wrote with Carl Lockhart, was each of the books was very short, I think under 150 pages. Now, indie authors have a lot of reasons to write books that short. Past a certain page number, books, the cost to publish gets a lot higher, exponentially, and you lose out on profit margins because you can't increase the price without driving away sales. So it's actually more profitable for indie authors to write several short books instead of fewer longer books. But the issue with that is that this one definitely felt short in that it felt cut off. Now, it does leave you on a kind of big cliffhanger of what Jack has to go do next for his investigation. So there is some cool things down the line, but there's really only one or two major plot points in the book. A lot of it is just the setup, the explaining Angela's past, establishing her relationship with Mark, Jack starting his investigation with the big thing, and of course, so many sex scenes. I want to say upwards of 8 or 9 in this 140-page book. So if you're looking for that, I want to see the two leads and only the two leads having sex, monogamy style, erotica romance. This one isn't for you. This one is for the queer peeps that like some polyam vibes. Or I guess, straight peeps could like some polyam vibes too. But regardless, I did like the mechanics of Jack's vampirism. You don't get to see as much of Angela's werewolfness because she keeps her wolf and rabbits contained with colloidal silver, taking a drop of it to keep the wolf weakened enough that she doesn't try to take over. And Jack's vampirism is interesting in that he actually does die when it's daytime. Sun rises, he literally turns into a corpse. He actually only sleeps in a coffin because he's afraid his cat would eat his corpse during the day if he didn't keep himself entirely contained. And again, it's kind of that subtle low-key humor, but also he can use his magic whammy powers to compel people, but only when he's freshly full of blood. However, basically, he can kind of keep himself afloat between actual feedings of blood with sex, other bodily fluids that are involved in the act of sex, basically can sustain him. It's not as good as drinking blood, but it's almost like a mid-afternoon snack where it'll hold him over. And I loved that concept. But that also gives more purpose to all of his scenes, and the fact that he can't not sleep around, like it's part of how he sustains himself. It's very much Incubus vibes, which I liked a lot. And in general, I am interested to see how things turn out moving forward, because there are some big reveals that are coming. Like I want to see the moment when Jack and Angela realize what the other is, and when Jack realizes that the biker gang he's investigating is the same one that Angela ran from. And I honestly don't know what they're going to do with Mark. Like, gut instinct says he might die. That's my gut instinct. Or maybe the author will surprise me and we'll go with a polyam ending. Like, that would not suck. Who says that the ending needs to be strictly like two-person monogamy? Like, I don't know. Regardless, I gave this book 4 stars. Again, the length definitely affected things. It did not feel like I actually came to the end of a book. It felt like it came to the abrupt cutoff of a book. But again, there are certain reasons for that, and I would be interested in continuing this series. I really enjoyed reading the entirety of the last one, and just in general, I like how much this book twisted things and twisted tropes to be, admittedly, more realistic than the alternatives. So I am technically still open. I do think I'm going to have to start some kind of new rule for myself to say that, okay, I will be closed when I reach this number and will not open again until my list is down to this number, because I have not managed to get under a dozen on my review list for months now. So I'll have to fix that later. Regardless, if you are interested in getting an indie review like this one, all of that information will be down in the description below. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.